everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, I'll tell you, we got one of these more longer videos, and specifically because we're going to talk more about the state of the president. And that is what this time of season is kind of about in reality. It's the state of the president. Is the president fit for office? Many Americans, majority of Americans, overwhelming majority, 70% of Americans say no. And heck, many people are angry that Joe Biden is running for re-election despite having this mental and physical and just health challenge. You know, a lot of people, including I, wouldn't be scrutinizing Joe Biden like we will be doing today. We wouldn't be scrutinizing Joe Biden tonight if he just said, hey, you know what? I'm 82 or 80. I don't keep track, but he's around the 82 type of age. I'm going to step aside. And essentially, Joe Biden would be the very first president since Lyndon Johnson to decline a second term in office. Interestingly enough. But yeah, it apparently doesn't get better for Joe Biden. And unexpectedly, too, because this man apparently has an early stage of Parkinson's disease. And you'd think, oh, they would use this, they would equip Parkinson's disease as a reason to get Joe Biden out. Because you know the Democrats will get destroyed badly if they pull out Joe Biden for no reason. They would be, because like I said, you're rejecting election results. You need a good reason in order to pull that stunt. And Parkinson's disease is a legit reason because people understand Parkinson's. A lot of Americans have family members and just Americans in general know someone who has Parkinson's. So they have witnessed Parkinson's disease, and we're all witnessing Parkinson's disease. Have you heard of anyone that has Parkinson's disease? Well, that's a stupid question to ask, unless you don't know who your president is. Joe Biden has Parkinson's disease. The White House and himself are saying, no, we don't. In fact, multiple doctors have diagnosed Joe Biden, not officially because they kind of need to make it official with official meeting. But yes, doctors are saying, yeah, bud, you have it. There's no arguing that you don't. So yeah, it's pretty clear and obvious. Joe Biden has Parkinson's, and that isn't going to age well. And you think, you know what, Democrats, they could just say, due to Joe Biden's recent Parkinson's disease diagnosis, the president has decided to step down and suspend his campaign. We are going to put a list of candidates into the national convention. You know what? That would be slick, and it wouldn't really hurt the Democrats that much. But the Democrats aren't doing that. No. In fact, the Biden White House is denying claims that the diagnoses that not just doctors but politicians and celebrities have declared, and said, you know what, no, Biden doesn't have Parkinson's and he's in great shape. And they're continuing to spam this. We criticized the media before. The media was so into Biden's perfect and sharp as ever. And after that debate, they're like, actually, we're getting so much hate and so much retaliation and backlash. We should probably backtrack our claims, which is never good. You should never backtrack your gains and your words. And essentially that hurts the media, but hey, you know what? At least the media is saying, you know what? The far right conservatives, as they refer to us, are correct. Because you know what? Joe Biden, he is deteriorating in front of our eyes. And the fact of the matter is people know Most people know this is Parkinson's because most Americans, or some half of Americans, have know someone who has Parkinson's disease, and they can definitely compare and contrast the difference and similarities to their loved one and Joe Biden. So, and here's what we are going to look at today. Today, we're specifically going to look at Sky News. Sky News doesn't seem to be so concerned about copyright. I notice. I think they're copyright free, so I'm not concerned. I have got no copyright strikes from my previous video, so normally I wouldn't be taking a look at news clips. I wouldn't be doing CNN because I know they're picky on that. But Sky News is kind of relaxed on that sort of thing. But we're going to kind of take a look at some clips from the summit that Joe Biden, the president of the United States, held in Washington, D.C., the capital of democracy, the capital of the Western world. And Joe Biden, he isn't just the president of the United States, he's the president of the West. He's the president of the Western world, Western democracy. Vladimir Putin, you can say and argue, is the president of Eastern democracy, the East, or Eastern authoritarianism, when it comes to that. And so we have the leader of the free world, Joe Biden. He's hosting a NATO press conference. It's not like G7 or G8. I don't know. But where you got big nations like Italy, Japan, Germany, etc. They're like 8 to 7 nations. We have a whole pack of 20 world leaders, and they're coming to Washington, D.C., our capital. Our capital. This is a big thing. And they're coming to look at you because Joe Biden supposedly is the leader of NATO. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't support the United States being in NATO. I think, honestly, the existence of NATO and creating the NATO alliance is kind of an act of war. We kind of created an act of war against the Soviet Union during the Cold War because we kind of built an alliance. We built an sort of military alliance and vowed to declare war, and if we are struck by the communist forces. The Soviet Union did the same thing and created the Warsaw Pact, okay? The Warsaw Pact and the Soviet Union falls. Expectedly, NATO should have said, you know what? There's no reason for us to be staying up anymore because guess what? The threat of communism is gone. Russia is actually doing way better under Boris Yeltsin. They are open to being more democratic and trying to better their human rights, and relations between Russia, China are growing. So therefore, we don't really need NATO. Sure, there's Serbia, Montenegro, Yugoslavia, there's Libya and Iraq, but those are countries that they are a threat when it comes to, but it's not like they're not a superpower. They don't really have world influence. The world powers, China and Russia, they're turning more democratic. Back in the 90s. So realistically, NATO should have said, you know what, we're suspending our alliance. But did they? No, because they are benefiting. They have the power. And now, as you know, a dictatorship arises in Russia again. And as you know, and it's the funny thing, because NATO was created to counter communism, not to tell countries what they can and what they can't do. Sure, I will say, you know what? I agree with NATO. The Russian regime is ruthless, and Russia shouldn't be picking on countries like Georgia and Ukraine. But then again, you're like an intimidation. You have an alliance directed towards Russia, and that's what NATO is. An alliance to threaten Russia. So supposedly you have this giant alliance threatening Russia, and I think, you know what? peace would be honestly inevitable. There would be so much peace if NATO just collapsed and said, you know what? Let's lower our arms, because essentially we've been pointing our rifles at Russia since 1940 or 1950 something. It's like since NATO's formation. And Russia just got tired of having their rifles pointed at them. This does not excuse Russia's actions towards Ukraine or Georgia or Crimea or in any way. But I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm not pro-Ukraine. I'm not pro-Russia. I'm pro-fact. Okay? I'm pro-facts. I'm pro-truth. And the truth is, both sides are to blame. You know what? Yes, Russia, they shouldn't have went through drastic measures. But NATO thinking war and sanctions is going to be the answer. No, it's not. That's why we need President Trump, because President Trump realizes that NATO does more harm than good. Because how are we supposed to talk and talk and make compromises while in the meantime we're literally throwing sanctions and threats of war and violence at each other? This is what NATO and Russia are doing. So yeah, you know what? Supposedly NATO is an alliance that shouldn't be here today. But I'm getting off track. We are going to take a look at Joe Biden. We're kind of going to continue to watch these videos because I think it's important we watch these videos to see how our president is doing. And the liberal media and the White House, they want to cover this up. They don't want to talk about it. Now the liberal media is talking about it because they want to equip the American, just Democrats in general, build up momentum against Joe Biden to pressure him to drop out. Hiding this footage will basically better Joe Biden's chances of winning the national convention. But at the same time, you're persuading moderates to not vote for Joe Biden on election day. So it's a risk. And consequently, we will find out the consequence and results of this on election day. But let's take a look.
Now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
So, yeah. Honestly, the Democrats, they laugh and cry when Trump calls Putin smart. Well, allegedly, Joe Biden introduces and tells everyone to applaud President Vladimir Putin. You see, I know, honestly, we realize, obviously, Joe Biden's not intently and doing this, and doing this intentionally. But then again, if we are going to be Democrats, we could essentially say, look, President Biden is applauding, telling everyone to support Putin. We could take that out of context, and then guess what? We would have the liberal media raging and calling it cheap fakes. Well, yeah, we could. You've been cheap faking with Trump. We just started the cheap fakes because we are tired of listening to you cheap fake Trump, and now you're using the word cheap fake. We don't use the word cheap fake. We use it something else. We say out of context, as you know. But the Democrats came up with a word with it. We're just going to call it cheap fake. Cheap fake. But yes. And then he catches himself. Good job, Joe. Good job. And yeah, there's Vladimir Zelensky. Here's the world leaders. They're all applauding in awkwardness. And Joe Biden just tells everyone to applaud for Putin.
We're going to beat President Putin.
And then he says, we're going to beat President Putin. This is what I mean, guys. This is what I need. No, don't say we gotta beat President Putin. No, no, that's aggression. We don't want a war. Joe Biden and all these leaders in NATO, they want a war. They want to blow people up and kill innocent people. And they seem to like it. They gain money from it. No, beat President Putin. No, we gotta work with President Putin. You know what? All these world leaders should be coming together and saying, hey, how are we going to better Ukraine? And how is Ukraine going to survive and carry on? And how can we end this war peacefully? We support Ukraine. Don't no doubt about it. We support you, Ukraine. But they're coming up there and saying, cheering for the destruction of Russian soldiers. Okay? That's supposedly what they're asking. They are cheering for the war to keep going on. It's about defeating Russia. In reality, there's no defeating Russia. Come on, guys. Russia is a superpower. Ukraine is benefiting from NATO because you got 20-some nations sending arms and weapons, tanks, and military craft to Ukraine. That's becoming OP, overpowered. But even an overpowered Ukraine, they can't seem to beat Russia. It's a stalemate in eastern Ukraine. It's not going to change. What are you guys supposed to do? Let's use the nukes. Yeah, that's really going to change things. You're going to kill all of us. This is why Trump wants us out of NATO, and I agree. We need out of this because cheerleading and screaming and roaring at the East and forcing them to scream and roar back is intimidating and scary for our children. We don't like the threat of war and violence and people threatening the other. No, we need to sit down and talk, reason. So yeah, honestly didn't really care about Biden calling, as you know, Zelensky Putin, and you'll see Zelensky is totally fake.
Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway.
Okay. No, Joe, you need to worry about yourself. I think you love your job too much. Actually, hang on. I think you, like Jasmine Crockett likes to say, don't love yourself that much. Because you show so much love for Ukraine and Zelensky's here is taking all the American taxpayer money. I think he has a big jug of cash waiting for him in his taxi. I think he took some more. Yeah, I can guarantee you Joe Biden gave Ukraine another jet before he left. But yes, this is exactly what's going on. You'll see it. Zelensky. Yeah. He shook his hand, and you'll see Zelensky's totally not fazed. You'll see reporters. Supposedly G7.
When you realize bloating and discomfort.
All right, no. Yeah, we get these ads. Okay. You'll see Biden, he gets interviewed, and all those world leaders, they're gone.
I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up
press conference now.
Zelensky and Putin earlier today.
And he laughs because he knows.
And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that.
Yeah, this reporter is doing a good job. I don't even know. This might be a liberal, mainstream liberal media reporter, but he's calling out facts. Yeah, they're jumping in front of the bullet fire. They're jumping in front of the firing line to protect Joe Biden. Yep, that's their job.
And officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing by leading this conference?
Yeah. We clearly did, because honestly, I didn't watch your conference, because you know what? It's hard watching you. It really is. It's kind of cringe and it's hurtful, because this is the greatest nation in the world, the United States of America. And we're seeing the greatest nation of the world, the United States of America, trip up and trip on his shoelaces on his own floor, on his own ground. Washington, D.C. Wow. Just wow. Making a big fool of yourself. It's kind of crazy to say, but Jamal Bowman would have a better press conference than this guy. Are you kidding? Let's be completely honest. Jamal Bowman would have a great press conference. And we know how incompetent and childish, at least like a toddler. You're not even, childish isn't even the right word to describe Jamal Bowman. He's a toddler, a 2-year-old. And he would have a better press conference than this guy. And this guy, he says, do you think there's any damage? I think there was a lot of damage. I mean, you damaged America's reputation as a respectable power. People don't respect you. Giorgia Meloni, I think that's her name, Prime Minister of Italy, rolled her eyes when she found out that Joe was arriving late. All these world leaders were waiting for Joe Biden in Washington, D.C., and Joe wasn't even here yet. Joe, all these world leaders traveled the world to see you, and you're still in your Washington, in the White House, just blocks away. There's no reason for you to be late, Joe. Out of everything, I'd expect these leaders who are coming distances and miles away to be later. Honestly, there should be no late tardy, because, as you know, this is scheduled a day before, guaranteeing that every leader has made it to Washington. But yes, he's going to go on and make sure to pat himself on the back, because really, this is what I think. You should never pat yourself on the back. It makes you look bad, because it shows that no one is crediting you, because people think you're doing a bad job. And since no one will pat you on the back, you're forced to do it yourself. So that's what Joe Biden's doing. He's the only one patting himself on the back. He wants the praise, and he's not getting it from the liberal media.
Conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end.
And he's going to say, oh, and the liberal media is going to say, oh, and guess what? He caught himself. Good job, Joe. He caught yourself. President Putin? No, we got to beat President. Well, whatever. You mixed it up, and we know why. Come on, Joe. And they're like, we need to beat President Putin. Yeah, I think we need to beat him, not with you in charge. Joe, I know I feel bad. I truly feel bad with all the hate he's getting. I truly do, but is what it takes? Is this what it takes? So much hate and a dump truck of hate on this guy to get him out of the race. And just not, the race doesn't even matter. Get him out of the White House, because the leader of the free world can't have Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's. No, this is the leader of democracy. He represents democracy not in the country, but in the world. All over the world. And this guy, President Parkinson, people look to him. And as you can see, NATO has zero faith in him. They applauded for him. Yeah, they're going to cheerlead. But go into their thought bubble. I think they have some doubts.
I said, Putin. I said, no.
And then he trips up.
Sorry, Zelensky.
Then he has a Mitch McConnell moment's coming, guys, but he didn't have his Mitch McConnell moment yet. But yeah, he's tripping up, as you can see.
And 5 other names. Look, guys, the idea anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference, I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is
Did they really do that? I mean, I don't think he would have said that if they were in the room. Next time, I would like to see Joe Biden's actual response if the world leaders are back in their usual place. Like right here. Now, this is a different room, I believe. No, yeah, they have the American flags. But yeah, they're clearly not here. They left, they departed. This is the aftermath press conference. But yeah, I think a lot of them would say, no. We know George and Mulaney would disagree. George, and correct me if I'm saying her Maloney, I think that's her name. Maloney is literally Joe Biden's babysitter. When Joe Biden wandered off at G7, who went after him? Maloney. Babysitter Maloney. Go get Joe. He's on it again. We know Hunter has a babysitter. Well, fun fact, Joe Biden has a babysitter, and it happens to be an Italian woman. The leader of Italian. And the funny thing is, she is credited to being a far-right fascist sympathizer. Do I think she's a fascist? No. But that's how she's pretty unpopular because of that. But it's so funny how you pair her up. I mean, seriously, this woman's more far-right than Trump. If you are essentially put them, which one's more far-right, it would be Maloney. Because Italy openly embraces a lot of stuff that Republican Party today would not even try, like banning gay marriage. Maloney's political party supports banning gay marriage altogether in Italy. And I want to believe Italy is a country that restricts gay marriage to a point. But yes.
Well, anyway, I thought it was the most successful conference I've attended in a long time.
You thought it was because, once again, you're getting bashed over it. And in order to convince everyone that you did a good job, you were going to say that I think it was great. This is an old classic tactic, guys. We know Joe Biden can't remember the previous press conferences. That could be partly true because Joe Biden can't remember his previous press conferences. And honestly, I don't think he remembered the words he said during the press conferences.
And find me a world leader who didn't think it was. Next.
A world leader? I think President Viktor Orban, not President, Prime Minister of Hungary, would have nodded their head. Yeah, it was absurd. Bring him up. I want to see Viktor Orban. But yes, we're going to go ahead and call it quits with the video. But yes, you'll get what I'm saying. We got to talk about Nancy Pelosi, because Nancy Pelosi, she is blue no matter who. She supports Joe Biden because he's the guy on the chair. But I'll tell ya, Nancy Pelosi would show so much support to a Sherrod Brown or Chuck Schumer or Kamala Harris, just as much support than Joe Biden. Kamala Harris essentially believes, you know what? We can't criticize our guy. I mean, did I say Kamala Harris? Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi believes a lot. We can't criticize our guy because he represents Democrats, right? He's the face of the Democrats. When we are criticizing Joe Biden, we criticize Democrats. But here's the thing, not all Democrats, and definitely not all the American people, agree and follow that logic. Many Democrats, like Michael Bennet of Colorado, say, you know what, we can see what's going to lead to. It's not too late. Let's fix the problem and get rid of Biden. So essentially, Michael Bennet is saying Joe Biden's a problem. So essentially, Michael Bennett's saying the Democrat Party is a problem, or the Democrat Party isn't doing a good job. So the Bidenists are going to be like, Michael Collins colliding with the Republicans. No, wait, Michael Collins. No, Michael Collins is the Irish guy, but Michael Bennet. Michael Bennett's colliding with the Republicans and spewing cheap fakes. Yeah, here's the funny thing. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we need to keep these people. Give them a microphone. Give them a mic. Give them an air horn. And make themselves loud and proud, because we need these whiners that hate what the Democrat establishment is doing. Just let them whine and cry and make a total fool of themselves in general. Just let them have their moment, because believe it or not, we want the establishment. Just let the establishment give in, and let the Democratic Party give in. Okay, we got to let Joe Biden run. And I can guarantee you, if that is the case, Joe Biden will lose. Heck, he's losing New Jersey. Now, I would say New Jersey would go to Trump, but there are only 2 polls that say New Jersey will go to Trump. 1 poll that says Joe Biden will win New Jersey. That's pretty big odds. So we're gonna wait on that. But yes, essentially more Democrats calling him to drop out after his disastrous press conference. Once again, the leader of the free world in the flesh, and he's making a total fool of himself. Not intentionally, he's actually trying. But the thing is, no matter how much you try, you cannot. No matter how much you try, you gotta know yourself, where I can't do this. Know yourself, you know what? I don't see I can do this anymore. I don't think I can do this. So anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.